How's it going? Welcome back to another great video with your host, The Savior. Now, today we do have something quite special, something to bring back the wonderful member berries, yes, because I member.
Oh, I remember. Remember Slimy? Oh, I love Slimy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Dynasty Warriors Origins, okay? This is finally the rebirth of the Dynasty Warrior games that we've all been waiting for, I think, for a very long time. Now, I think a lot of people do agree that the franchise has kind of gone downhill in recent years. They tried to capture the modern day gaming beloved trend of open world gaming. And sadly, that didn't exactly work out, okay? The last Dynasty Warriors just wasn't that good, but I am happy to report that actually this is a return to form in many ways, okay? But it is lacking on some aspects, some of them being a big deal breaker for many. The co-op aspect missing. To me, that's a very big deal, and I know some people won't care, but to me that is a big deal because I have such fond memories of playing this game when I was like a teenager, a goddamn decade ago. Yes, that's right, I am having an existential crisis. I just have fond memories of going down to my friend's house and just, all of us playing this game together, having these massive giant battles. There's no other game quite like Dynasty Warriors, but to be honest now, the new game is how I imagined it back then, because it was pretty basic back then. You thought there was tons of enemies on screen, and yeah, there were back in the day, but now it actually feels like a proper giant war zone, thanks to modern day technology. So I'm going to give you my Dynasty Warriors Origins review, and I'm going to tell you if Dynasty Warriors Origins is actually the game to bring this series back. So, my final verdict of Dynasty Warriors Origin. Well, I think this game is... So let's get into this Dynasty Warriors Origins review, okay? Now, I was lucky enough to actually playtest this in Japan at Tokyo Game Show. I played it actually not on a proper PC, it was like one of those Steam Deck type things, a kind of mini handhold. But it was a good time, and I played a decent amount of it, not just the demo version, so yeah, I can talk more about some of the details. But honestly, this is just a great return to form, in my opinion. It's not gonna blow everyone away. If you're not a fan of the series, then I don't think this is going to change anything, per se. But if you've never played Dynasty Warriors before, this is the perfect game to jump into. This is the perfect one to, try out, in my opinion. Because it just redefines all of the aspects of the original games, but just makes it even better. So I'm going to go into my positives and negatives to list all the ins and outs of this game to find out if Dynasty Warriors Origins is worth it for you guys. Please do your own research as well, but I do hope these early reviews do help. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing right now, become a wise one today. I'm just so dedicated to make this channel and community better. So yeah, if you like that approach, because it's not any fun without you guys and without your feedback. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like I said, subscribe if you are new, become a wise one today if you like to actually think and analyze media. So join the wise one, subscribe, give the video a like, and consider sharing it around or supporting my channel in any way that you can. It does mean a lot. So like I said, there's not many games like this, I've got to be honest. And what makes Dynasty Warriors so special to me is just a massive amount of enemies on screen, the over-the-top ridiculous nature of the combat. It's not supposed to be a realistic medieval battle simulator, but it is a hell of a lot of fun, and now, with newer technology, it's just even better. So if you want massive simulated battles, then look no further. But luckily, this time around, they've gone for the more tactical approach, with the older games. It's not just hack and slash like the previous entries, and it's not doing any of that open world BS. It's much more defined with the combat elements and the tactical elements. I'll talk about that more later. And now it's actually trying to lean into the RPG route more as well, which I really think is quite an interesting take for Dynasty Warriors. It's not RPG in the sense that your dialogue choices matter, but basically what will change the ending of the game and some of the consequences in this game, it's all about, you know, if you win or lose and the battles that you choose and the journey along the way, which I think is quite an interesting take on the RPG genre to a degree. I wouldn't say it's full RPG, but it definitely is mixing in some elements, and I really love that. And they're focusing on a single character this time around, which I do think, you know, help, and I do think that helps ground you in the world of Dynasty Warriors much more, to be honest, because, yeah, I'm a sucker for having a character and a fleshed out story. Story isn't anything fantastic, but it does try to be more serious with its storytelling elements, more dialogue choices, and having a set protag definitely does help with that, I believe, but that just depends on what kind of player you are. It was kind of fun when it was more co-op focused to have, you know, different characters that you could just play around with, but now it's going the single player route, and yeah, that works, but also it does take away quite a few points of what made Dynasty Warriors so special to begin with, if you ask me. So let's get into those positives and negatives. So they have redefined the tactical gameplay, okay? So now when you are planning a battle, you'll get to see the whole map and the whole area, and you can actually assign troops different attack patterns. It's just way more tactical, and it is going back to the original Dynasty Warrior approach, and I really do like that, to be honest. Now there's way more formations that you can actually choose when you are in the field with your men, you know, things like charge or volley or different tactical, you know, positions of your enemies, different tactical information that you can get before jumping into the battle, choosing, you know, your companions, your troops, all of this stuff. And I just really like that approach. They just went way more tactical with it. And that does remind me of the original games, to be honest. And I think they did a much better job here, especially with the loadout system. You have lots and lots of different weapon choices now, and they all have different weapon art, which is, you know, basically upgradable to some degree. But I just love the fact that there's tons to choose from, and they all have unique animations. It does remind me at times of over-the-top action-style gameplay like Devil May Cry, mixed in with something like Mountain Blade, which I really do love, by the way. But it's obviously much more over-the-top. Capturing outposts just have never felt better, if you ask me. It really does remind me of what I played when I was younger, blinded by nostalgia, I've got to be honest. Now it actually feels, you know, good compared to some of the earlier titles that kind of went astray. The combat this time around is just a lot more personal, I would say, because there's a big emphasis on perfect parries, you know, dodging your attacks. You can't just go in there like a goddamn god. You can't just go in there like Kratos and just go, you know, to town on absolutely everyone, unless if you play on lower difficulty modes. Hero mode makes this a lot more personal, and you can utilize all of the different combat elements that they've added, like the perfect parry system, and the abilities on offer here, the different weapon types and arts, which, like I said, are upgradable, and then the tactical nature of actually controlling your men, but, you know, being focused on the singular character that you control, but controlling your men, you know, managing their morale and all of their different formations. It's just a lot more engaging this time around, I would say. Also, you get mini bosses, and they are so awesome because you can, it's literally like Saruman in Lord of the Rings, you know, you can just see him like cleaving through all of your troops, and then you have to actually play, you know, smartly to actually defeat the bosses by using your men. And mostly, you know, you doing most of the heavy lifting, but your AI isn't completely dumb this time around. You know, I wouldn't say they're super smart. They don't really know what to do unless if you give them direct orders, but it does feel like they are a little bit more self-aware this time around compared to earlier titles where they are focusing on, you know, capturing objectives, and it feels a little bit more dynamic, you know, having their army fight off against yours. I just felt that, to be honest. I hope you are enjoying this Dynasty Warriors Origins review. Please do remember that this is an early review only based on what I played with the hands-on of Dynasty Warriors Origins, but I can confidently say that the full game is pretty much the same, to be honest. I did play on a few different maps at the hands-on event, but yeah, this is a Dynasty Warriors Origins review only based on, you know, the early access content that I was given. I really tried to push myself to cover as many games as possible there. Luckily, I did manage to play this game more than a lot of other games coming out this year. So now let's touch on the different layout, okay? Now, this is not open world anymore. This has gone for mini hub areas. But what I love is the biodiversity. From what I've actually seen, the maps aren't all the same reused assets where it's very empty with, you know, Dynasty Warriors 9. They are much more fleshed out, way more detailed, and they are quite different. And especially in the actual gameplay, okay? They don't just look different, but they function differently with the tactical choices that you have to make, you know, where you put your troops and decide what troops you're going to use and all that kind of stuff. There is a little bit more emphasis on terrain warfare, which I really do like. Not like simulation levels, but still just a lot better. And I really do love the use of the overworld, okay? That is what really reminds me of Mountain Blade, to be honest. Because basically you're a tiny little character on this giant map. And you can travel around, talk to different NPCs, do trading, find quests. And it just has that kind of old school game vibe to it that I really like. And it really does make you feel like this big, you know, kind of sergeant. It does really truly make you, it truly makes you feel like the commander of your troops, you know, planning your next move, gathering resources, upgrading your, you know, weapons and your art forms and all that kind of stuff, your abilities that are on cooldown. The next thing to mention, which is another positive, I'm giving this game a lot of positives because obviously it's not like a game that redefines the genre or it's not gonna be game of the year or something like that, but it is a fun game. It's just one of those games where you can just go and enjoy, switch off your brain. Sometimes we need that type of experience, and I do like the kind of silly nature of it, you know, just being able to cleave through tons of enemies, but it's just a lot better compared to previous titles. You know, they have better physics to them, more impact and weight to the combat, and more deliberate combat. But the co-op being a missing feature, to me, that is a massive deal breaker, and that does take it down many points if you ask me. But still, a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun with this, I think. But going on to the next positive, that is controlling the generals, okay? So I talked about the bosses, but you also have your own version of a mini boss that basically helps you out, and you can actually take control of them and use them for a limited amount of time. Sadly, this doesn't really fill the need of, you know, that co-op experience that I feel is missing, but it still does change up the gameplay a little bit, and yeah, you can really use it. You have to use it tactically when things aren't going good or if you're fighting off against another boss, and I do like that they added that. Like I said, this game just reminds me of good classic PS2 games like Battlefront and stuff like that. Simple gameplay, but it's all executed much better compared to previous releases of this genre. Now, I'm not going to pretend I know much about the story, but from what I've seen, it is trying to go for a more serious approach this time around. Like I said, it is focusing on one protagonist who seems to be like, you know, the classic anime guy who's a bit of a badass. Kind of that standard trope where he's a little bit of a shy boy, a little bit not sure about himself, but he comes into his own and becomes the leader that we all need. Wow. Great quality writing. Japan, you know how to make relatable characters. The Japanese just know how to make relatable characters, what can I say? But there is more emphasis on dialogue choices this time around, which I like. Voice acting seems to be quite solid as well. And like I said, they are going into that RPG genre a little bit more with the choice and consequences with what you do on the overworld and stuff like that, which I think is quite interesting. But yeah, it's quite polished for animations, for graphics, all of that stuff looks pretty good. It's not next level, next gen, high fidelity graphics, but I feel like they have definitely refined, you know, the Dynasty Warrior art style. And yeah, that's all you can really do at this point. So, all in all, let's round off this Dynasty Warriors Origins review. Would I recommend this game? Yes, I think that this is a good game for people who love Dynasty Warriors, especially because it just redefines the combat a little bit. The boss encounters are a lot of fun, more customization with your character and the weapon types, and just tons of enemies on screens, that good hack and slash fun, kind of DMC combat. This time around it is a little bit more skill based, which I really like, and I really do appreciate the tactical elements. The fact that there is no co-op, and I have seen a lot of bugs where you kind of get squashed and the NPCs just kind of get glitched out. and you can get stuck sometimes with the camera. I haven't seen anything game breaking, so that's reassuring, but I have seen a few kind of just glitches here and there with some of the big troops and all of their movements and stuff like that, or sometimes when you give out an order it doesn't actually work, but nothing game breaking, I would say. They could have experimented more with the combat, with the tactical elements, you know, have more control over your troops, you know, like a full-on zoom out, just something to redefine it a little bit more, but it is a polished experience, and that's all you can really ask for, I guess, at the end of the day, so it's not bad. So, my final verdict of Dynasty Warriors Origin. Well, I think this game is, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I just did that because, you know, modern day YouTube, you gotta grab that audience. God. Remember when people could actually just watch a video? That was much better. My final verdict, I would say, yeah, it's pretty good, and it's worth it if you are a fan of the older games. And even if you just want to try something new, I think it is truly worth it. This is definitely the best Dynasty Warrior games I've seen in a very long time, and it feels like a return to the form, but updating what needs to be updated, and just having a much better combat system really makes this game a lot of fun. But just for a bit of fun, if you want this type of, you know, hack and slash, not so realistic battle simulation, then yeah, I think this series is now the best it's ever been, thanks to Dynasty Warriors Origins. So check it out. I do hope you enjoyed this Dynasty Warriors Origins review. I'm not going to go super analytical into this one because there's not much to be said, to be honest. It's just a fun game, and sometimes that's all you need. But stay tuned for my next review and more videos to come, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Peace out.